So we begin today by just highlighting the importance of the global exhibitions industry. I found some key statistics that the industry globally supported 21.6 million full-time jobs worldwide as at 2022. I don't know what that looks like currently, but 21.6 million full-time jobs, that's a sizable number. I don't know what it looks like on the continent, and perhaps in the course of today's dialogue, we will get that statistic. The industry generated $1.3 trillion in direct and indirect economic impact in the year 2023. Again, a significant number. It is reported that for every $1 spent on exhibitions, $4.80 is generated in additional economic activity. And so therefore, you can see the multiplier effect and the capacity of the exhibitions industry, and largely the MICE industry, to cascade impact across the entire economic circuit of a nation. But it is also reported that this industry is one of the highest, sources of carbon emissions, generating 1.1 million tons of carbon emissions from event waste in the year 2023. 64% of exhibition organizers use recycled materials for booth construction. So there is a move towards sustainability. And perhaps that's one of the trends we'll be discussing this afternoon. So the question for every one of us is, how do we position the exhibitions industry at the heart of economic activity on the continent of Africa? Is it already there? And is it well articulated? What is the economic impact of the trade show exhibition space on the continent of Africa? In the US, statistics showed that the industry contributed slightly over $300 billion to the US GDP in 2023. What does that number look like on the continent? I'm not sure. In France, exhibitions generated 5.2 billion euros in tourism revenue the same year, 2023. In India, the statistic is that the industry contributed 1.8% of the country's GDP in that same year. As far as tax contribution, the global exhibitions industry made a contribution to global governments of 145 billion US dollars that same year, 2023. So that's where we begin, just setting the stage on what is the economic value of the global exhibitions industry. Why is this conversation relevant for Africa? It is relevant because trade is at the heart of economic development for the continent. Exhibitions accelerate trade. They are platforms for catalyzing trade and investment. And that is what the dialogues around the Africa MICE Hub and the Africa MICE Summit focus on. And so this afternoon, even as we continue to network on the chat, I see South Africa is represented, Kenya is on the call, Morocco, all of us, we're in here. As we begin the conversation this afternoon, I want to bring to us industry professionals, industry leaders who are right at the heart of it. And first on stage, I want to bring the venues the exhibition venues. Carol Kadenge is a general manager, Sarit Center Expo Center. She is a visionary leader in the meetings, incentives, conferencing, and exhibitions industry. And she's been recognized for her expertise in leadership, operational excellence, customer experience, and innovative event space curation. She has over 15 years of diverse experience across education, entrepreneurship, banking, and corporate leadership. She indeed has established herself as a driving force in shaping world-class business and event experiences. She is now the general manager at Sarit Expo Center, which is one of Africa's premier exhibitions venues. And in that space, she's combining her passion for innovation with operational excellence, having launched 5 new expos in the past 2 years. And one of the things that I have loved just looking at Carol's command of the exhibition space is the ability to curate new exhibitions and to direct conversation in novel areas. Under her leadership, the center has become a hub for transformative trade expos, cultural showcases, and high-profile industry gatherings, setting new benchmarks in customer experience and event execution. And guess what? Something you may not know about Carol. She is a published author, and we'll be asking each of the speakers to tell us something that we may not know about them. She is a published author, having co-authored the book called The Way She Leads. Her deep expertise in customer engagement, product innovation, and operational strategy makes her a sought-after thought leader in the MICE industry and beyond. This afternoon, we want to share this stage with Carol and other amazing industry leaders and with every one of you on the call. And we'll be asking you to contribute to the discussion in the Q&A space and to share even on your social media platforms what's going on so that we may amplify Africa's exhibitions industry. Welcome, Carol. Would like to hand this microphone over to you.
Thank you very, very much, Kezzy. As you were going through the introduction, I kept looking and saying, is that me? Are you introducing somebody else? But really,
a
pleasure, a joy to be here today. I think almost everywhere, I like to fit myself into the mold of exhibition specifically, not the wider MICE when we think of meetings. And there's a main reason for that. I believe there's just too much potential within the specifically exhibition space that we are not tapping into. And that's why forums such as this, even if you had said nights at 9 p.m., I would have made sure I am here. We need to keep on talking about it because this is the next frontier for explosion. When you look at the statistics in terms of exhibition venues, growth rates, fastest currently is happening in the Asian region, and next it will transfer into Africa. So the question right now is, are we ready for that explosion? And that, of course, feeds into what I will be sharing with all of us today. So I'll just get right into it. Thank you very much. I just want to share my presentation. I'll take you through a few slides that I have. Please let me know once you can see my screen. Are we good?
Yes, you're right there. You just need to enlarge it, but you're good to go.
Casey, is that better? Can you see now properly? Full screen?
It's perfect.
Okay,
You are
thank you.
awesome.
Okay, thank you. So just as a background is we keep saying we want to be, thank you, that's fine. We want to see how we explode within the exhibition space. I think within conferencing, we are not confessing that we are there yet, still also a very, very huge growth potential area for us. But the question we should be asking ourselves is how do we move this along? Let's not focus on growing the conference space. Then when we feel we are at the right position, we come back and say, now let's focus on exhibitions. A lot of these things can grow in tandem because we also know there's a lot of collocating of conferences with exhibitions. We are seeing that a very regular trend of exhibitions incorporating conferencing into what they are staging. So this is a conversation that we need to not only wait for the Global Exhibitions Day to talk about, but make it as consistent as possible. So when we think about our continent, we are around 1.5 billion. But when you think about what of that 1 billion we are occupying in terms of exhibition, it is 0.9. Let me just say 1%. There are statistics which will tell us about 1 to 3%. But the reality on the ground is we are taking 1% of what's happening around the world. And that speaks to two things. One, we have 99% of potential out there we need to tap into. And we flip the question back is, are we ready? Are we able as a continent right now able to say, let's go for it? And that of course feeds back into, are we infrastructure ready? And when I think about the word infrastructure, I want us to expand it to not only think about the brick and mortar, but also all the other competencies around it, the skills part. When we're thinking about sustainability, eco-friendly events, are we ready for all that? Not just the venue in terms of space. So our challenge right now as a continent is not demand. And I think if we were maybe to do a roll call of the African countries that have exhibition venues, possibly a lot of us would have the same rolling feedback because our venues are either small or few. We are not able to accommodate all the requests we are getting. So what happens is you find a lot of events are being turned away because you can only accommodate so much. And that speaks to the opportunity we keep on repeating. There is opportunity for that. And of course, the way modern venues are done now, we are not saying the infrastructure should speak to only an exhibition, but it should be a venue that's adaptable. So if you needed on off days to do a conference, it is ready for that. If it is a conference alone, it is ready for that. So those are the conversations we need to be having. So our challenge is infrastructure. And exhibition infrastructure is no longer a tourism asset, it is economic infrastructure. Then I just want to share this is just a snapshot of some of the statistics we got from UFI on the deck to share today. And you can see we have 45K exhibiting companies spread all over the continent. And if we go granular to the second level, there are so many more out there that we could onboard. And the current ones who run more or stage more than one event, more than one exhibition, sometimes are incapacitated because of space. We don't have the space. We have 1 square meters of booths that were rented, and this is on an upward trend, and 2.1 million visitors, business visitors who came in specifically because of exhibitions, not conferencing. The data tries to strip out what speaks to exhibition only. So obviously the quantum is higher than what we are seeing. So that's just the status at a glance. Now, why do we need to focus on exhibitions? What is it about exhibitions that is so special that even there's a day created for it like today? Or that we keep talking about exhibitions now in different spaces within our continent. And I've just tried to state some of the top reasons why exhibitions are important and how they contribute to our economies. One obvious one is foreign direct investment. This is all the payments that will be coming in, of course, from the different exhibiting companies and the whole ecosystem of that comes into the company. There's obviously trade and export opportunities. There's revenue for tourism. And by this, we are saying both business tourism and leisure tourism. They'll speak into that. Because we know for very many of our visitors who come in for business, we'll try to carve out a day or two, either before or after, to experience the tourism, the leisure part of a country or the place where they find themselves in. So this revenue will speak to both. Again, hotel occupancy. And why this one is even more critically important, when you think about leisure tourism, we are normally able to establish, a country is able to give you distinct seasons where they say this is our peak season. And at that peak season, they do know occupancy for the hotels is almost like 110%. It's really, really high. And there'll be those low seasons. But when we are talking about business and where exhibitions sit, then for us, our occupancy, we like to think about it all year round. Yes, we could have higher seasons, but generally exhibitions are taking place weekly, daily around the continent, directly speaking into the occupancy. Then, of course, aviation growth, and we keep talking about connectivity from outside our continent, but more so within our continent. There are a lot of bottlenecks we face in terms of cost. And so those are some of the things we would need to address. So even if we are infrastructure ready with brick and mortar, what about that? Then knowledge, what about knowledge? Do we have the skills? We need to make sure as we are building infrastructure, it's going in tandem with knowledge. And as Kezi alluded to in her introduction, there's the potential for massive job creation across all the sectors, directly and indirectly. Exhibitions do spiral growth of jobs. And just to point out a few, we have the Germany exhibition industry, which supports some of the world's largest trade fairs are held in Germany. Then Dubai, we know the story of Dubai and UAE, and now it's having an effect around the region. It's becoming a very exhibition-ready destination for many. And they are also making sure they are growing that in tandem with the support infrastructure that's required. Then Singapore, it's a place we could learn for. It's already positioned itself as a business events destination. So somewhere where we could pick a lot of lessons as we grow our infrastructure. So we are saying exhibitions do not simply fill venues, they stimulate economies. Now, what's our infrastructure gap as a continent? What would we say is our gap as a continent? So our infrastructure currently is heavily concentrated in a few of our African destinations. That's why you'll find for some exhibitions, they'll either be taking place in South Africa or in Algeria or Egypt. There are some of our destinations, few of them where all of these exhibitions are landing because a bigger percentage of our continent is not yet ready with venues, infrastructure that supports staging, execution of exhibitions. So Africa is home to 18% of the world's population, but we host less than 5% of global business events. So this one is inclusive of everything, meetings, conferences, not only exhibitions. So a very small percentage is coming our way. And as a continent, we need to ask ourselves, what else do we need to do? And I've just pointed out a few of these venues. These are bigger, are attracting a lot of the exhibitions that are happening within the continent. But we need a lot more of these if we are saying we want to move as a continent together. To grow the industry, it cannot be left to 8 or 10 countries to do that. We really need to be doing this together. And one of the things that keeps coming up is how do we rotate when you have an international expo taking place in Eastern Africa? How do we influence so that it also goes to North and goes to West and goes to South? So the conversation is broader and we will only win if we try to tackle it together as the different countries. So that's a snapshot of some of the bigger venues on the continent and the square meters of space there's Kigali, there's Egypt International Exhibition, there's the Addis International Convention Center in Ethiopia, Cape Town, of course, and Bomas, which is the upcoming, which it is our belief that will be ready. It will be ready to start hosting conferences, exhibitions by the end of this year. So these are very few. When you think of how many countries we have on the continent, we need to have a lot more of those. So despite these investments of the few, Africa still lacks sufficient world-class exhibition capacity relative to its population, size, and growth potential. So one of these would be what needs to be done at policy level so that the different governments around our continent see that this is an opportunity they need to tap into, they need to center in their MyStrategy as a growth area. And that will speak to them meeting their business tourism agenda, their leisure tourism agenda. So it also speaks to policy because developing, we all know the investment required for venues is pretty large. So this is an initiative that is better championed with cooperation from government. Then why are some of our destinations outperforming others? And still, this comes in every time as we go through this. I want you to keep in your mind when we're talking about infrastructure, we want to talk about the brick and mortar and everything else. Call it social infrastructure, call it financial infrastructure if there were such words. But I want us to think also beyond the building. Yeah. So what do the strongest MICE destinations have invested in ecosystems rather than just a venue? And that is the reason some of the destinations are outperforming others. So a lot of learning for us, even as we try to get ahead in building our infrastructure, the ecosystem must move along with it. So some examples there that I have just posted for us to see. When you think about South Africa, which is one of the most advanced and mature exhibition destinations on our continent, they have strong air connectivity. They have an established hospitality sector and a global events track record. When we think about Morocco, it's a strategic gateway between Africa and Europe. Strong convention and tourism ecosystem, again, excellent air access. Rwanda, they are winning with their national MyStrategy that is wholly integrated into everything that is functioning. It's wholly embedded in their system. Their visa on arrival policy, a dedicated convention bureau, and strong destination branding. Those are some of the things. Then when you think of Ethiopia, it's the home to AU. And of course, Ethiopian Airlines is a world leader, making connectivity not an issue for them. And the government is investing a lot in convention infrastructure. So this will obviously attract more exhibitions to venture into our continent. So what do these have in common? So apart from infrastructure, which can be built, these need to be factored in for success to be achieved for all of us. There needs to be commitment from government. We have talked about aviation connectivity, destination branding, the infrastructure for hospitality, and long-term planning. And why long-term planning is also really a feature that must be put in. It speaks again to the investment required to put up a venue. When you think about the investment that's required, then you need, as you're developing the returns, to have a very long-term outlook. If we think short-term, then really trying to make the case it would be dead on arrival because it looks like your returns will take a very long time to come. Then are we ready? Are our destinations ready? Are they competitive enough? Again, I'll keep repeating, infrastructure outside brick and mortar. We know we need brick and mortar, so we can have the plans, have the finances, the investment required to stage it. What about all the other facets that support that venue? Because it's one thing to have a very beautiful venue with the capacity required, but if the support structure is not there, then again, we are not able to meet this. So that speaks to understanding what an organizer of an exhibition today needs when they are deciding, should I hold my event my exhibition in Zambia as opposed to holding it in Nigeria? Those are questions they ask themselves. So even as we are developing infrastructure, we need to always put ourselves in the hands or in the eyes or in the feet of shoes of organizers to understand what they need, so that once we are ready with our destination, we are staging it for success from day one. So accessibility, are you accessible? Wherever you want to put up the venue, are you accessible? Or does it make more sense to partner with a country next to you? So that's one thing we think about. Safety and security are very big concern, and not only for exhibitions, but also for general visitors to a country. That's one thing we think about. Service excellence. And I think when we talk about service, it's a conversation not confined to the exhibition space. It is everywhere. It's where you go to take your coffee. You can have a very beautiful coffee place, and when you go and you sit there, the service can either make you come back or not. And I know there are times you can even ask somebody, why do you go to that place? Because to you, it looks a little bit, maybe the seats are not too good, but the service you get from the door makes you keep coming back. So we must be able to match the service with our venues, even as we build them. We've talked about connectivity and then technology. Technology is big. Now we've reached a stage where, as we do registration, we've moved from registration where now AI is being incorporated. So your venue should be one that can accommodate that, so that at my booth, I do not need anyone to sign, but I can be able to take demographics just using AI, which feeds that into me. Am I able to hold the hybrid events? So technology also a very, very important thing as we build our infrastructure. So when we're thinking about the global event organizers and when they're making decisions on where to take their expos within the continent, we are being benchmarked against the best of the world. So they are not necessarily, will be second level comparison will come to whether do we want to come to Sarit Expo Center or Addis. But before they reach there, they will be comparing us against anything outside our continent. So when they're saying, should we venture into Africa? They'll be saying, what does Dubai provide? What does Barcelona provide? So the benchmark is really high for us. And if we are able to rise up to it, then really we're able to drive a lot of economic growth within our continent. So what are global leaders doing differently? And some of these we have already talked about. When we talked about visa, that's something that plays into it. When we're thinking about the delegate experience and government-led My Strategy. So these are things we need to develop in tandem as we think about our infrastructure. So how about interconnectivity between cities? Because again, when we think about it, many of our African countries, you'll find the venues that we have will all be in the capital cities or the major cities. We need to find ways to open up, not necessarily open up every city in your country, but also opening up different regions. If it has a tourism, leisure tourism angle to it, can we put up a venue there? And how do we make the business case for it so that it is sustainable? Those are things that we need to be asking even as we prepare to be ready for that. So the future belongs to destinations that combine infrastructure, technology, accessibility, and the experience for your visitors, for both your domestic and your international delegates. That is what will make you win or not in this space. Sustainability. Again, this in the introduction, Casey touched on this, how we are all getting into the area of sustainability. So even as we are developing infrastructure, this should be at the forefront as we develop our venues. Is it coming in for sustainability? And one big advantage that the continent has, as opposed to the rest of the world who have all these venues that were built a long time ago, very well maintained, still big, they have to keep on retrofitting their venues now to meet sustainability metrics. But for us, it means from the get-go, we are able to incorporate this and end up with a sustainable venue from the beginning. Because venues are investing in renewable energy, carbon reporting, waste reduction, water, and sustainable procurement. So some of these are things which we can easily incorporate day one as we see the opportunity is there for us. So we have talked about the investment and how large it is, and possibly that could be one of the reasons we do not have a lot of investments. I think if I think about our own country, Kenya, and I think about the leisure tourism side, which now would be the hotels, we have a lot of those. We have a lot of hotels being built, currently being built, projections for more to come in. And possibly one of them could be, yes, an investment question, or are we not understanding the exhibition space well so that we are able to actually present a case where an investor is able to see, okay, as opposed to putting up a hotel, the opportunity may be bigger for me in an exhibition venue. So again, the onus is on us who are the owners of this to continue to expand and expound on the opportunity that is there within the exhibition space. So a lot of it to be infrastructure ready, a lot of countries would rely on public-private partnerships because this is the engine of growth that is used on our continent a lot. And I've put some examples there of successful examples of PPPs. We also have some, of course, locally within our continent. And for example, the Bomas that is being put up, that is a PPP. That's what we have from our continent. I have one more here I'd just like to give as an example from my notes. Sorry. We also have, in South Africa, they use mostly private funded models, but in Nigeria, they also have IFC advising on how they run their PPPs. Some will work through the World Bank and the IFC arm. So this is the way we should be structuring our infrastructure because of the two arms that are relevant to this. So what does government provide? It will provide the infrastructure investment, even if it's not 100%, but a large part of it. For example, give the land, then they'll give the policy frameworks on the operational model. So when we're talking about infrastructure, it's not only putting it up after that, how does it run? Government would come in heavily with that. Visa reforms, you want to, after you've put up the venue, you need it to make it easily accessible for people to come. And then of course, destination promotion. And from the private sector, there would be capital, innovation, operations, because private sector would be driven to make sure bottom line is being met, and the service delivery angle. So to be successful, this is one of the things the continent should embrace, how we come in to public-private partnership to spiral the growth of venue space and venue capacity. So I've just pointed out some examples of the infrastructure investments that are driving the future of the continent. These are not all of them. I've highlighted a few of those. We have Addis, we have Kenya, which we've talked about, Rwanda continually expanding where they can, Egypt and Morocco. So there's expansion going on in existing venues. And why the expansion is going on is the few venues that have realized, have seen the potential, are trying to expand it, but we need more countries to come on board. So to compete globally, we need to focus on 5 priorities. And I've put these, again, some of them will be information from previous slides. We need to expand our convention and exhibition infrastructure around the continent. We need to simplify our visa and travel processes. And I see a big effort around this for intra-Africa travel. Governments are giving free access to visitors from different countries, different African countries. This is happening within the continent. This also needs to have an eye in expanding it also to international delegates. Then we need to improve our connectivity. This we have, we cannot talk enough about it, but about connectivity. Then to strengthen our PPPs and to embed sustainability into every new development. So I imagine an Africa where major global exhibitions rotate across African cities, delegates travel seamlessly across borders, convention centers act as trade gateways, and Africa becomes a preferred destination for global meetings and exhibitions. My last slide has refused to screen. I don't know why, but I just want to end by a note that Africa's exhibition future will not be determined by potential. It will be determined by the infrastructure we build, the partnerships we forge, and the decisions we make today. If we build the infrastructure, trade will follow. If trade follows, investment will grow. If investment grows, Africa wins. Thank you very much. Back to you, Kezzy. Thank you.
Carol, that is fantastic. Absolutely, I think a masterclass for many who, are not maybe in this space or are in this space. You have summarized key issues, and we'll be coming to a conversation with you. But those of us on the webinar, firstly, I just want to welcome you to use the Q&A function. Please let us know where you're joining us from, because it really does matter. And it will be nice to stay connected with each other. I always say that these webinars are opportunities to strengthen relationships and also build new ones. But Carol has raised some core issues here that I think will form the basis of a conversation that we will shortly have. You did talk about the need to move beyond brick and mortar, because whenever we list our shortcomings or our challenges as a continent, infrastructure is viewed, from that lens, that we don't have adequate infrastructure. But you actually did point out that one of the competitive advantages that the continent has is that we're building now. So we can build smart, we can build sustainably. You talked about the need to develop ecosystems, to have an ecosystem mindset, not just build the infrastructure, because there are other core issues that explain the reason why some destinations would outperform others as far as exhibitions are concerned. Then you have given us some case studies, Chuon, Singapore, Dubai, Germany, and all of that, and some of the challenges that infrastructure remains concentrated in only a few destinations of the continent. And across on this call, we do have representation from the west of Africa, the north, the south, and the east. And I think that this is a great platform to have honest conversations on how do we drive investment to this sector. I also do know that on this call, we have experts around PPPs, structuring, and mobilization of capital. And the question we'll be asking, and I'm saying this just to provoke the audience as we begin to have this dialogue, we'll be asking the question, are we well positioned to drive capital to this subsector? Are we packaging it correctly? And one of the things I'm very excited about is that we will be having an investor roundtable later this year, mobilizing different investors to showcase. But the question is, are we positioning correctly? How do we profile this subsector? Because we do see the opportunity. And here is Carol, General Manager of one of Africa's largest dedicated exhibitions venue, telling us that there is an opportunity in the space. And so therefore the need to drive capital and investment to this space. Carol, thank you very much. I'm just going to allow you to get a sip of water, and we'll be back to you, because we do have questions and we want to draw a lot more out of you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you took some notes. because that was quite something. I want to bring on next to the microphone Haimanot Tesfaye, who is the founder and CEO of Ethel Events, which is one of Ethiopia's leading event management exhibitions and business networking companies. And she does have a number of other investments within the MICE ecosystem. Haimanot has over a decade of experience in the business events sector, and she has been instrumental in designing platforms that connect businesses, investors, policymakers, and consumers across Ethiopia. As she comes to the microphone, we want to draw on her experience having successfully organized and managed a range of notable exhibitions and trade shows in East Africa, including the Ethiopian Week exhibition and festival, Sport Expo Ethiopia, the Mini Ethiopia exhibition, the Big Five as well. And she has also partnered with several international exhibition brands and stakeholders, helping to position Ethiopia as an emerging hub for exhibitions, trade fairs, and business events. So she sits at the intersection of exhibitions, trade promotion, business matchmaking, and destination development. We've heard from a venue, would like for us to hear from an organizer, her perspective. Haimanot, if you can now come to the microphone. We just want to hear from you what your experience has been, some of the highlights, the work that you're doing, the opportunities that you see in East Africa and really across the continent, and perhaps your input even as we celebrate the Global Exhibitions Day. Welcome, Haimanot.
Thank you so much, Casey. Can you hear me? Good. Yes.
Yes.
All right.
We hear you very well.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much, Casey, and all the audience. It's been really a pleasure to be in this platform, and what an honest conversation and really entertaining. I mean, really interesting topics that you have raised when you start from the global data that Casey mentioned within the continent-based challenge that we are facing, specifically detailed and structured from Carol. So when I was listening to Casey, I was wondering when are we going to have that kind of pure statistics to help our continent grow and witness the growth in terms of numbers. But also when Carol mentions about the differences between Africa and the rest of the continent, we still can see that there is still a big potential, untapped potential within our industry to push the trade fair and the exhibition market towards to the global market as well. But what fascinates me in between with all the challenges, with all the market readiness that we need to work on within our continent and within our country. Can you imagine how much we grow as a destination in Africa? How many international exhibitions that we are attracting to our countries and to our continents as well? And all that because even if our infrastructure and also some of the bottlenecks that we are facing related to visa, customs, and everything, we're still attracting lots of international exhibition organizers and the platforms as well to come to our destination, both in our country, but also in the continent. And I think this is mainly because the market potential that we have. So the exhibition is not just anymore a platform that connects business it's not just to showcase product or services like previously, maybe 10, 20 years or 15 years before, majority of our business people might consider exhibition as a B2C platform. Right now, we can see real B2B engagement between companies, both international and also local companies that are participating in the exhibition. So it always fascinates me how our continent is growing, and with all this not perfectly structured infrastructure and policy and everything that we have, there are still business coming up to our continent, and that showcase our capacity, our population, our market. People are now coming to source directly from the market, and suppliers are coming directly to where the big market is open, which is really in Africa. So these exhibition platforms to witness that they're connecting markets and facilitate trade and also attract investment and joint venture. And also they're also accelerating a business growth. So not only we're being seen by the global organizers and suppliers as a big potential of market, but also our local community, business community, policymakers are also witnessing the value of exhibition because of the trade integration and because of the business growth. So for Ethiopia and different countries in Africa, I think exhibition are becoming a critical tool for unlocking global opportunities and strengthen regional integrations and connections as well. So from our experience, we have seen previously there were lots of a general exhibition. One exhibition comes in terms of cost saving with several sectors integrated, but right now specific sector exhibitions are coming up, and Africa is not only taken as one destination, but different African countries has been hosting similar type of events. That also shows our neighboring countries are growing in market. So as we all know, exhibition is also a great platform to connect buyers and sellers. But right now, it's not just buying and selling only. We are seeing lots of joint ventures through B2Bs. We're seeing the B2B connection are growing to investments as well. So the local investors, the local companies, the local policymakers are integrated very well with international suppliers. And international suppliers, instead of just sending the products to the continent, they are also preferring to have a manufacturing plant and utilize the neighboring countries to distribute their products as well. So for me, in general, as long as there is a business, as long as there is a growing population, as long as there is a big market, there is no reason why the exhibitions are not coming to the destination. So one of the biggest challenge, as Caroline mentioned, to maximize the impact and also to see the fruit as fast as possible as industry leaders, or the ecosystem and also the value chain needs to really work on standardizing majority of our exhibition platforms in terms of serving and retaining those events and exhibitions. But again, fortunately, we have a very good market, and unfortunately, we have we don't have readiness in every aspect of the era to make all the exhibitions successful. So as an event organizer now, we're not only focusing on organizing a nice event, bringing the right audience, making the right matchmaking, because one-time connection will not going to be enough. The exhibition will only be successful when the traders in between become successful in their business as well. So we have been engaging somehow on advising policymakers, on advising the private sectors, and also trying to push them to come so that they can see the potential in the fruit of the business as well. So other than this, I think one of the great potential that we have been witnessing is the trade facilitation and cross-border and trade and regional integration as well. So this trade fair platform is amazingly becoming a support for, I'm sorry, this platform is becoming really a support for borders to transfer from barriers into bridges and connecting different companies and industries together, and specifically even following the intra-Africa arrangements and the shows as well. We also show lots of change in terms of our intra-Africa engagement as well. So again, the market has a really big potential. And I think when we talk about sustainability, of course, there is an even sustainability where we think about reusable materials in terms of exhibition building and also other materials and utilizing technology as well. But the sustainability of business within the countries are also very important, because exhibition organizers or exhibition platforms doesn't come to our destination or our continent just to host their event. If it is another like conferences in the other MICE segment other than majority of them might come for the destination, for our tourism attraction, for our venues and some other reasons. But exhibition specifically needs market. Exhibition specifically need a growth potential of the countries. And as we see, we have lots of young population in Africa, and different countries in Africa, also including Ethiopia, we're really growing in terms of market and a different segment as well. So all those are a potential. People want us to test the market, engage into trades, continue to joint venture in different arrangements with local companies, and then expand it to investment. So no one can deny Africa will be the future of business and the future of potential. So I see sustainability in terms of building a sustainable business ecosystem, so that these exhibition platforms will going to continue happening within the continent and different countries as well. So we have seen companies have seen different innovations through the connection. Knowledge exchange has been made a lot, and specifically when we talk about the SMEs, we're having, as I said earlier, a really large young population, and majority of them are becoming startups and entrepreneurs. So this platform is also becoming like a shortcut for them to learn about the technologies, how the business looks like, not only in Africa, but also in global scale, who are the suppliers who are offering several option of suppliers and also materials and services within the platform. So I believe for these entrepreneurs and SME companies, this platform is helping them a lot, and they are also benefiting. It's not only believing, actually, we have also witnessed that. We have been engaging in, as Casey mentioned earlier, we have been engaging in construction exhibitions, agriculture and food, textile and leather, sport type activities, and health events as well, and also some cultural events, which is a little bit focused on inbound. But from the 10 and 12 years journey, we have seen the industry change from, as I said earlier, from the B2C to B2B. That means the players in the business are also getting prepared to deal with international market as well. So right now, where we're positioning ourselves right now is import minimization and also maximizing the manufacturing within the country, and the government is doing really good job on that. So while having the challenge of the infrastructure, we're still building new infrastructures to host those events. But again, the business has become a great potential. Even if you don't throw a large exhibitions, you still have the B2B and the B2G connections, which will lead the business to roll on until we have the right infrastructure. So I would say the future of global trade will definitely involve Africa, because we're becoming quite ready, and we're having lots of potential. So as long as the market is here, as long as the potential is here, I don't see any fear of those exhibitions or events coming to this destination. But as a continent, as a leader of this industry, we will also have lots of responsibilities, because we're not only wearing one hat in terms of organizing a successful platform and events, but also we have to support the sector stakeholders, including the industry leaders in the private sector, a government, and the policymakers as well. I completely and 100% agree with what Caroline said earlier in terms of the policymakers has to work more on the infrastructure, the visa, the customs. There are lots of bottleneck why we're not having lots of international events, or why we're not having lots of intra-Africa events within us. There are lots of things that should be done from the policymakers' end. But as I said earlier, we need to wear two hats. One is organizing a successful exhibition, making business people successful and making the right connection for them. That will really help the industry grows. As long as the industry grows, then the exhibition industry will going to be in the right place. But there are lots of work. One of them is convincing and supporting our partners who has this big platform and who would like to come into the market by showcasing like a clear structure of how the country business operates. Exhibition is a long-term investment, as that has been mentioned with Caroline as well. Within the first or the second event, you might not be really successful as you are in a different country. So to sustain in Africa, it might take a little bit of time, but also it needs a readiness of to take all the risk with the growing market in Africa. So whenever we get that kind of potential and readiness in terms of partnership to grow with us and to take the fruit as part of us, then we also have that responsibility of being clear about the structures, about the industry. We just don't need to focus on one-time result or one-time events happening. We need to focus on impact and retaining those events, and because they will be an engine for the industry growth. So one of that is that one of the hat that we'll be wearing is a real industry support in terms of strategy, business growth, policy change, and everything. The second one is, of course, maintaining a quality, working with the stakeholders, with convention bureaus, with venues, with stand contractors and other suppliers as well, so that the service that we're providing will be up to the standard of all the international events that are coming to our country. And in this regard, I would like to appreciate your initiative in Kenya specifically, and also for achieving a majority of international events to be held in your destination, specifically for the GITEX and also Gulf Food. It's a big deal. I mean, it's a quite good achievement to bring them there, but we also need to work as a continent to retain them and to show them that the big market is here. We shouldn't go as an African to different countries to source items. Rather, we should work on bringing those suppliers here to joint venture and also to see a potential of sourcing from African market as well. So the third and the most important thing is, I think, and I would like to pass on this message for all of us, as I feel like it's our responsibility. We really need to work on the market, on the policymakers and the industry leaders, associations. If these people who are leading the market could not understand the value of the trade fair and the exhibition platform, then those private sector will not going to be coming there. So through our journey, we believe we have introduced a new market, a new strategy, and a new market, a new platforms for them to make business. So it's not anymore a traditional way of making business. Like everyone in the industry, majority of the time is coming to industry-focused events. But it's not only construction, it's not only textile, it's not only agriculture. We have vast and several untapped markets that we can take it out to the global market as well. So in that sense, we have to support and showcase the value for the continent and also for the country. As mentioned earlier, visa has been a bit of a bottleneck. Of course, so many countries has been changing right now. Customs is somehow still an issue in different countries. Accessibility is becoming, especially road accessibility and sea accessibility in terms of moving different materials here and there is becoming a challenge as well. Some materials that should come to the country should go back or shipped back to its origin after the exhibition. Those kind of logistics might discourage the organizers and also the participants as a supplier from other countries. So it's our responsibility. Unfortunately, we need to show the potential. We don't have a data that we can take it out and speak about. This will be the potential. This will be the growth potential in the next 5 or 10 years. So we need to be trustworthy, and we need to collect our data properly to showcase, to pitch and promote for our policymakers in terms of changing majority of the bottlenecks specifically related to this industry, and bring impact as much as possible for the industry. So as mentioned by Caroline earlier, how ready we are in different aspects. market, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of profession by itself. But again, I would like to mention again that we will be wearing different hats and will be responsible for leading the industry path to the future. So whoever is engaged in this segment in the industry, we shouldn't only think about the impact that's coming immediately into our business, but we also have to think of the general MICE ecosystem that we'll be building for the future of Africa and for the benefit of our own countries as well. So this will be it that I can be able to contribute in terms of the market readiness and in terms of the benefit of the trade fairs and exhibitions. Thank you so much for having me, and I'll be staying here if there is any uncovered point or questions will be raised by the audience. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you so much, Haimanot. Even before I let you go off the screen to just take a break, there's several core issues that you're raising, and ending right there with a comment that we need to wear two hats. That this is not just about what we're doing within our own businesses, but it's also the contribution that we have to make as far as the broader ecosystem is concerned. You did raise the point on the importance of bringing on board policymakers and the making sure that leaders understand the catalytic effect of the industry, and so therefore play a role in reducing the barriers or minimizing the barriers. You have pointed out, some of the large exhibitions that have been hosted on the continent, either in Nairobi or even in Addis. And you did raise the question on how do we retain these exhibitions on Africa's soil so that it doesn't become a one hit or a one-time experience. How do we incentivize more global exhibitions to come to the continent? But I want to ask you a question, even as we prepare to bring on our next speaker. Are there certain trends that you have noticed, perhaps within the last 5 years, as far as exhibitors and buyers are concerned? Is there a shift in either buyer behavior or exhibitor behavior or consumer demands? Are there specific trends that you're perhaps seeing today compared to 5 years ago?
Yes, I mean, it's a very good question because every year we are witnessing a change and also learning within the industry. So I can give you an example of the event that we are having in the past 4 years, from the starting until now, how it's growing. The first trend that's changing is the business leaders are understanding the value of the exhibitions, just not to showcase or to promote, but that becomes the right platform for the B2B connections, not only the B2B, but also for the B2G. There are some government-related visitors specifically coming to the exhibition as well, because there are major constructions and major investment that has been doing in different sectors of the government. So even the government leaders are taking the exhibition industry as a platform to see who's providing what. And previously, when we do international events, I can say 90% of the participants were coming from abroad. Right now, the local participation is growing really high. So that means the local companies are not only looking for the B2C connections, they are coming to grow their business, to network with the government authorities, and also to have a better opportunities and to learn about the technology and the new era of business from their other peers that are coming from a global market. So the understanding of the exhibitors, the payment capacity, even in the silly things. Previously, you used to put them in a half payment, and you used to run around to get the full payment even after the event, because you really want those people to be there. So now the potential, the business is bringing them, not the promotion, or not the size of exhibition. So I have seen lots of change because the industry leaders believe it's very important as part of their marketing and business development activity to be in one of a sector leading exhibition in the country. So right now, what we're missing is majority of the well standardized exhibitions that we will be having within the country will be limited in number or limited in sector. So one of the investment that we need to take, as I said, we need to think about impact, because we are here at the end of the day to set the industry tone for the future. So our contribution within the industry will gonna matter for the future of African exhibition industry as well. So we really need to be a little bit of honest on what we're doing, and we need to focus on a future impact rather than the immediate financial attraction or benefit that we are getting. So for that, it needs investment. Our return might come after 5 years or 6 years. So that means we need to see sectors that will grow in the future as well, not only the sector that has a potential immediately, because the market trend, they're looking where to go to expand their business and to do their selling activity as well. As previously, you don't send your salesperson, door to doors. Right now, there's a technology. There is a lots of way of meeting your buyers. But exhibition is not only finding your buyers, but also a platform to expand your business with a counterpart of your other business companies, and also getting a credibility in terms of what you're doing. So it looks like it's a journey that we're not going to stop in the next 5 or 10 years as well, as long as we design it very well. So it gives me a hope. The change that I have seen in the past 4 and 5 years, every year the event that we're growing is that we're organizing is growing, but people does not wait until the event comes in a year's time. They come back in the middle to have a B2B. They come back to meet and see the strategy. They come back to see the investment policy and other industrial benefits that the government is setting. So definitely, I have seen lots of potential and growth within the past 5 years within the industry.
I do have some immediate follow-up questions for you, Haimanot. Firstly, what sectors do you think are going to drive the next generation of exhibitions on the continent? And I know you've worked across different sectors, organizing exhibitions in construction, agriculture, ICT, energy. What sectors do you think are going to drive that growth? And then you did talk about technology. We now do have we are living in a world that's dominated by different digital platforms. Do you think that exhibitions in the face-to-face format, as we know them, will still matter in the coming years, given the dominance of digital platforms? Maybe in just 1 minute, what are your thoughts?
Okay, so in terms of what sector might be the most dominant sector in the future, specifically in Africa, I would say for the benefit of Africa as well, not for the benefit of the general global market. I would say agriculture, industry, and IT will have a great potential in the future because of the industry change, specifically in IT. And also because of the potential that our continent have, the natural resource that we'll be having, and the agriculture value that we'll be having, agriculture and food, focusing on industry and focusing on IT and ICT related segment. I feel like those will be the one growing in the future. Of course, infrastructure and construction as well, because it's already in the good platform right now. When it comes to a face-to-face event, I don't think business can be led with only online platforms. You need to have trust. You need to see factories. You need to see facilities. You need to meet the leaders. So we're talking about more B2B and larger scale of investment and partnership. So I really don't think the technology will gonna completely take over the face-to-face events when it comes specifically to the exhibition, because we're talking about money, investment, trade. So it requires trust, and you need to meet in person. So I feel like the exhibition industry will still continue to have a face-to-face interaction.
Thank you. Thank you for that. For the audience, it will be interesting to hear your thoughts on what are the sectors that you think would drive the exhibitions industry on the continent in the coming years. Haimanot will just give you a moment just to take a breather and sip some water. I see quite a bit of engagement on the chat. I did see the question on, of course, airlift and the challenge around tax. And I know for the exhibition sector, customs is quite an issue. Connectivity is an issue as well. We'll be coming to that conversation, and I hope that we'll have a moment to hear from other contributors. But in this moment, I want us to hear from a stand builder. We've heard from the venue. We've heard from an exhibitions organizer. I want to bring on the microphone Jochebed Akoth, who is an emerging exhibitions and event professionals. She's the founder and head of events at Silvery Images. She has been involved in exhibition stand build and fabrication, pavilion design and setup, booth branding, the event production and coordination. And she's working with corporate organizations and doing a number of government events across the East African region. Jochebed, as you come to the screen, we would just want to hear what you're doing as far as corporate exhibitions are concerned, perhaps your experience, and also what are some of the demands that are coming your way from corporate clients as far as design and build is concerned. Jochebed, if you can kindly come to the microphone, you do have a few minutes to speak. Welcome. If you can unmute your mic.
Yeah, so thank you so much. Thank you, Casey. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. And thank you so much to Africa Mice Hub and the team for bringing together professionals from across Africa and around the world to celebrate Global Exhibitions Day. And today, I really would really love what my peers have extensively talked about, and just mentioning how much exhibitions matter for Africa. So I'll just quickly jump into the theme, which I was tasked to talk about, which is the future of exhibitions, and that specifically under opportunities and priorities. As someone who has worked closely with organizers, exhibitors, suppliers, governments, associations, and even venues, I have seen firsthand how exhibitions do far more than fill exhibition halls. I've seen how exhibitions create markets, how exhibitions attract investment, transfer knowledge, and also accelerate industries. And perhaps most importantly, how exhibitions create connections that often become business opportunities long after the exhibition ends. Yet, as we discuss the future of exhibitions in Africa, I believe we must ask ourselves some very challenging questions. Are we building exhibitions that simply attract visitors, or are we building platforms that accelerate Africa's economic transformation? Because the answer to that question will determine whether Africa becomes a major player in the global exhibition industry or remains a market that others come to serve. So I strongly believe that Africa's moment has arrived, and the future of exhibitions is not just a future, but it is something that is now a discussion for now. It is a present opportunity for all of us as Africans. And I believe that Africa has the youngest population so far. And with the African Continental Free Trade Area, which has created the largest free trade area by number of participating countries in the world, we've seen how much urbanization has continuously increased, how regional trade is growing, and how investment interest is extensively expanding every day, and how we've also seen how we have new industries emerging within the continent. So every one of these developments creates demand for exhibitions. And because exhibitions remain one of the most effective ways to bring together buyers, sellers, investors, policymakers, innovators, and industries under one roof, I believe we have a very big opportunity as a continent. Globally, before the pandemic, the exhibition industry generated hundreds of millions or billions of dollars in business transactions through face-to-face events. And what the world has learned over the past years is very simple, that digital tools are very powerful, but business relationships are still built through human interaction. And I remember, Casey, you asked a question about whether we see, how we see, uh, this evolving in the coming future. I think we are still going to need technology or AI, but as well, we will need people who participate and interact with them. Because at the end of the day, during exhibitions, we still need people to meet, we need people to touch products, we still want to negotiate deals in person, and that creates a significant opportunity for Africa. So some of the priorities, for me, priority number one would be building stronger exhibition infrastructure. And when we see industry leaders discuss growth within this ecosystem, the conversation often starts with, how can we market based exhibitions? But I believe it should start with what infrastructures do we have in place and how can we make it better? Because the reality is that Africa faces a shortage of world-class exhibition facilities, just as my peer Carol had mentioned before. We still don't have world-class exhibition facilities compared to other major exhibition markets. And many countries have tremendous potential, but limited venue capacity. And others have facilities, but lack supporting infrastructure, such as transport, logistics, accommodation, and also just connectivity and generally event services. If Africa wants to attract larger regional and international exhibitions, or infrastructure investment must become a strategic priority. But infrastructure is not only about building buildings. It also includes having skilled event professionals, having reliable suppliers, just as Hymanot had mentioned, having exhibition technology incorporated in all our event designs, and also just having logistic networks and industry standards meet the global stakes so far. So for me, the future of exhibitions, especially in Africa, belongs to destinations that will build complete exhibition ecosystems, not just halls, but because exhibitors want to invest in, they just don't invest in venues. They want to see income. So they are able to invest in incomes and not just venues. Another priority for me, based on how I've seen the market so far, is we need to start going beyond attendance metrics. And what I mean by this is how we proudly announce, maybe for a show that we have today, in this show we had over 10,000 visitors, or we had 20,000 visitors. In most cases, we rarely ask some very critical questions that I feel should take prominence going forward. For example, how many qualified buyers attended the show? How many deals were initiated? Or how many investment, how much investment was attracted? Or how many business partnerships were formed during this show? So the future of exhibitions belong to organizers who can demonstrate measurable return of investments, because exhibitors today are increasingly under pressure. You look at how some of the things they mention, especially when they want to exhibit. Number one, they would say their marketing budgets are being, heavily scrutinized. Another thing is every dollar matters, or even they are under pressure to justify why they have to pay a certain amount of money or fee for participating in a specific show. So as an industry, we must become better at measuring outcomes. And this conversation must shift from, how many people came to what business happened, because exhibitions are out there to scale economies and to build business across the world. Another priority for me would be designing experiences and not just events. And this, I think, would be because I think after the pandemic, a lot has changed. Our attendees have changed, the exhibitors have changed, expectations have changed. And by just curating an expo and having booths within a hall is no longer enough. So today we want to see exhibitions that create memorable experiences, design memorable experiences for the attendees. And just to mention a few, how those can happen is through, we've seen so many expos with some trends about honoring things like interactive demonstrations within the shows, having very immersive environments, and just ensuring that each and every attendee has a very personalized journey when they come to the show. And that opens up to more networking opportunities, and also just a very seamless digital integration. When I feel that it's important for us to ensure that when people leave an exhibition, they should not just remember, they should remember more than they saw, what they saw. They should have, be in a place where they can remember the experience and talk about it. And I think Africa, where we are, that should be our strength, because we have a very big opportunity, to design exhibitions that reflect our cultures, our industries, and even our innovations in a way that no other region can replicate. Fourthly, another priority for me would be the use of technology intelligently. And of course, technology is often discussed through as though it will replace exhibitions. I strongly disagree. I believe that technology is going to strengthen exhibitions, because the future is not just digital versus physical. The future is going to be, or the future is currently is digital plus physical. AI, event apps, matchmaking platforms, visitor analytics, lead capture systems, and also smart registration tools are transforming this industry. However, technology should not be adapted because it is fashionable. I think it should be adapted because it improves outcomes. So our question should never be what technology can we integrate or use in our shows, but it should be what problem are we solving using these specific technologies. And I believe we have so many problems that currently, as show organizers, or generally within the ecosystem of exhibitions in Africa, are just apart from generating leads, we also need to find ways with which visitors discover more opportunities within these shows, and how organizers can make measurable impact when they are designing or creating their shows. Another thing would be, or another priority for me would be sustainability. And I echo this from what Hermanot and Carol have already mentioned, because around the world, we see sustainability moving from a marketing message to a business requirement. So as within our continent, we need to find ways with which we incorporate sustainability as a business requirement for exhibitions across the continent. And this does not mean that every event or show becomes another carbon neutral tomorrow, but it does mean that we make deliberate progress in reducing waste, deliberate progress in reusing materials, in improving sufficiency, and also just rethinking responsible sourcing. So the future industry, exhibition industry, the future of exhibition industry will not just be measured solely by economic impact, but also by how responsible we create or impact our environment. And lastly, I think my last priority would be in terms of collaboration of different ecosystem players, apart and not competition, because I've seen how I know Africa has a great opportunity if we collaborate. And too often we've seen perhaps sometimes destination competing when they should cooperate. Associations work in isolation when they should actually come together and strengthen some of their objectives. And For organizers, we've seen them duplicate efforts, or stakeholders, protecting territories. So meanwhile, when all these are happening for us, we have the global markets moving forward. So I always imagine what our content would look like if government supports this industry, venues come together and invest strategically, organizers share their knowledge, and we have associations advocating collectively. And just not that, just also to add on that, we have private sectors partnering or collaborating effectively, because the future of exhibitions in Africa will not be built by individual organizations. It will be built by ecosystems, and ecosystems succeed through collaboration. So the most successful exhibition destination in the world will not grow because an organization worked harder than everyone else, but I believe it will grow because we have multiple stakeholders aligned, and around a shared, vision. So as I conclude, I want to challenge us with one idea, which has been in my mind for quite some time now. Many African events we have pursued in, international validation, and we always celebrate when international exhibitors attend. We celebrate when foreigners buy, buyers participate, and rightly so. But I think we should also ask ourselves, are our exhibitions helping African business trade with each other? Are they strengthening regional supply chains? Are they supporting inter-African commerce? Because the future of exhibitions in Africa should not only be about bringing the world into Africa, but I strongly believe that it should also be about connecting Africa to itself, and the opportunity remains significantly underdeveloped. And it may be one of our biggest growth opportunities going forward. So just to close, as we look ahead as an industry within the continent, I believe that the future of our exhibitions in Africa will be defined by the 6 priorities that I've mentioned. And because Africa needs trade, this is because Africa needs trade, investment, innovation, and connection that exhibitions create. So I believe that if we incorporate all this, we are going to have economic progress within our continent, and we will able to also strengthen our industry as well. Otherwise, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I think that was so practical, Jacobet, just speaking very practically into what do we need to do and asking very pertinent questions. Allow me at this point to just welcome back all our speakers. We can just have Caro and Hymanot. We just want to have a little bit of a dialogue happening right here. There's a couple of questions that have come from the floor. And I know that there's a lot of experience right here on the screen and on this call. There is years, decades of experience, collective experience. So I want us to just have this dialogue, and we'll be bringing also several other professionals and experts who are on this call. But I want to throw this particular one to you, Caro. What do you think we need to do? And perhaps you can address the challenge around airlift. You raised it. And I'm throwing it back to you because this is a challenge. It keeps arising when it comes to large exhibitions on the continent. The challenges around connectivity, the challenges around bringing in materials, exhibition materials, bringing them in and then taking them out, challenges around customs. What would you think we need to do around that regulatory framework to perhaps create an environment that is more conducive for this subsector to thrive? Caro, and perhaps maybe you can share with us, some of the feedback that you have received. You've hosted some of the continent's largest exhibitions at your venue. What are some of these challenges that exhibitors are facing, and what do you think we need to do from a regulatory perspective?
Thanks, Casey, for that. And for sure, this is one of the bigger challenges organizers face, bringing in their products without having to attract a tax component. And for me, the beginning point of that would be the bodies that are tasked with regulation of what comes into the country, and that is customs. They should be having a way to disseminate information to both exhibition organizers, exhibition venues, so that we are better placed to advise our clients. I know here from the experience we have, at a minimum, most of them, what they would be asking for is for us to provide letters confirming what they're bringing as samples, our products. However, sometimes even with those letters, there's challenges where we have to pick up the phones and just try to support in terms of how do we get these in. So this must start as a policy. It must start at policy level, and how we identify those, because if it's not embedded as policy, then it becomes very difficult for individual organizer. You're trying to negotiate for if it's Jotebet and she's building a stand for a booth for one exhibitor, she's negotiating for that one entire.
Yeah.
So this must start at policy level. And what would that look like? Because we are the owners of this space, then a stakeholders meeting should be held for them to understand when international exhibitors are coming in, whether from within the continent or outside the continent, what do they require? What will they be bringing in? So when we are able to articulate what our space works as, then they're better able to come up with the policies. And I would just like to give a small example when we talk about tax and the compliance. That is specific to Kenya within our act, where the government gives some concessions for people who are developing infrastructure. For the tourism sector, there are some rebates one gets if you're building a hotel venue, if you're bringing in the branded tabs and taps and all. There's a lot of concessions you get in terms of tax. And so we're trying to bring in some equipment, and we said, somebody mentioned to us, just check the act. There could be space there for you to also bring in that equipment, because it's for business and this is sitting within tourism. Business tourism, you'll get those waivers. But when we go there, there's no specific, the only waiver you can get is when you're building a venue. But once your venue is up and running, if you have a hotel and you're bringing in merchandise, you get those waivers. But when you're a venue, it's only limited to building of the infrastructure. So these are policy conversations, but they only will happen when they bring us into the room so that we can represent what is required. And that would help in terms of just making sure that it's streamlined. And once it is done at that level, then obviously the wider continent should come in. So that is not a policy that also, remember, we are trying to address this as an Africa issue and not a specific country issue. So this policy should be driven at a global level, global for Africa, at a continental level. That way we'll be able to win. The conversation around connectivity, when you talk about air connectivity, I think the continent, we have this, I forget the full names of the association that deals with African airlines. That's where they need to drive it, because I believe in their rooms, when they have these conversations, they are also facing so many bottlenecks in terms of having to achieve this dream of how we say, if I'm flying from here to Zanzibar, it is more expensive than if I'm flying from here to Dubai, because there's the landing fees that they will talk about. They'll talk about loads. So again, that's a bigger conversation. But I think the starting point for that is, when we look at it just as at continent level first, is can our governments open up free movement? That would be the starting point. The more of us keep visiting each other's countries, that would feed into the conversation around capacity of loads on certain routes. And that will influence how we now move out of Africa and also attract others outside the continent to come and stage exhibitions there. Thank you.
Yeah. And I think perhaps we are seeing a shift as far as opening up the borders is concerned. We have more African countries that have gone into visa-free regimes. Maybe that's a beginning. And we perhaps will begin to see ease around movement of goods. That's one of the priority activities under the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. But there's a lot more, you're right, Carol, that needs to be done. You can stay on the screen. I want to bring in back Haimanot and Jochebed as well, if you can stay on the screen. There's a question right here, Haimanot, on practical mistakes that exhibitors make. And I think that's a really important question. Why? Because firstly, it is practical, affects the everyday experience of an exhibitor. But then also because it is business oriented. And at the end of the day, we say that exhibitions exist to drive business. What are some of the mistakes you find that exhibitors make? Because then I asked this question was asked, I need to check who asked it, but it's right there. Oh, Rachida. I hope I got that right. I believe it was asked by Rachida. But the context, the reason I asked this question, Jochebed did say that the real value of exhibitions is no longer you build a booth within an expo hall. There's a lot more that is now required in order to convert. Otherwise, when you calculate ROI for exhibitors, there's many that participate in exhibitions, but then they don't have tangible outcomes. If you can share, and we only just have a few minutes for this conversation, but Haimanot, what are some of those practical mistakes that you see exhibitors doing, and how can companies maximize the opportunity that exhibitions present?
Very good. It's a very good question. And I will answer this question on behalf of international exhibitors coming to African market. When you come to African market, the market, the details, the potential, the policies are not quite clear, or you cannot find them everything online. So you come here to test the market, to check the buyers, and also to check the partners as well. So one of the biggest mistake that I have seen from the first participation of the exhibition, exhibitors would expect to get a distributor or a massive buyer, or their plan is quite wide. They wouldn't take it step by step. So African market is a market that you integrate within the details step by step. So the first couple of events that you'll be participating will be maybe to understand the market leaders, the buyer's potential, and also the competitive analysis that you cannot be able to find online or by any information that someone is giving you virtually. So you need to come see the market, not only staying inside the exhibition hall, but also you have to go out where the market is, where the buyer is, where your product has been distributed, where your competitors are selling those items, and also understanding the buyer's mentality as well. If you cannot convince yourself in terms of the capacity of your product sustainability within the country, just because you get the right distributor, it does not mean your business or your material will gonna sustain in the ecosystem. So the first biggest mistake is expecting a return on investment within the first or the second show. So you need to take steps to learn, to understand, and they shouldn't jump into just get one distributor without having a proper due diligence about the company, the capacity and the reputation within the market as well. So majority of the companies sustain within the exhibition after they come 3 times or more than 2 times to that destination, then that calculated decision will help them to stay within the market instead of immediate action and grabbing whatever potential that you're getting in the exhibition venue. So while you're coming for 3 days to participate in an exhibition, you're also getting an opportunity to see the country as well. So you need to take time, couple of days before and after the exhibition, to explore the market, understand the country potential, and also the ecosystem and the players as well. So one-time visit to any African destination might not give you the right picture of how you sustain with the business or with your product in that country specifically. So time, patience, proper study, and proper connection will help for sustainable market presence within the country.
That's a very practical response. Thank you so much, Hemanot. And straight to the point. Thank you. Let me ask this question. And my apologies. That question was asked by I lost it again. Nilaya. I'm not sure I pronounced that correctly, but thank you very much for that question. Nilaya, there is a contribution. I believe this was to your point, Caroline, around fragmentation, the fragmentation of the African market, and Fidelis saying that it's beyond flights and transportation. It's also fragmentation around our payment infrastructure, the network, the internet infrastructure. There's all of that we need to work on in order to enhance the experience for exhibitors and grow the sector. But I want to ask you, Jochebed, this question. We do have shell schemes still forming the baseline for many exhibitions today. And Cynthia is asking, what will it take for modular and reusable stand systems to become the industry standard rather than the exception by 2030, perhaps in 30 seconds? Jochebed.
Thank you, Casey. So I think that question, maybe to give the right answer would be how we can transform the standards we've set as an industry. And that moves way, way back to, the policies we have in place and how the whole, how different countries or people understand, or organizations, or even, people who participate, these companies that participate in these exhibitions, how they understand exhibitions, how they approach exhibitions. Because in so many ways, I've seen how different curriculums, as people get to understand about marketing. Remember, exhibitions is one way of how to market your business. So you realize most of the marketing managers only have an understanding around, billboards, social media or digital platforms, but exhibitions as an element of marketing becomes a problem. And you see where we see that these marketing heads they are the people who create budgets for participating in exhibitions or organizing exhibitions. So their understanding of why it is important for us to move from, this kind of exhibition setups to modular setups is a whole discussion that I think we need to champion more about, even if it means including exhibitions into our curriculums, into our, university or college studies, so that people get to understand how exhibitions can, be used as market engines, and in what ways can we do that? Because if we say we just want to talk about shell scheme, moving from shell schemes to modular at the moment, not many will have the grasp or an understanding behind why you're moving that, towards that direction. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so there is an opportunity there for capacity development, but also innovation. I want to bring in Barry Clements, who is on this call, for just a few seconds to address the issue of PPPs and how do we drive investment, because that's a question that has been raised by every one of our speakers and also on the chat. Barry, I want to be sure that you are able to speak. And just
yes,
share
I am. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Go ahead.
Great. Yeah. No, I think as rightfully mentioned, PPPs are very crucial for the industry to grow. But there's some challenges, and a lot of people forget some items. And for PPPs to be successful and work, from a private sector perspective, we need to present bankable projects and not just opportunities. I think that's one of the issues. Many destinations have tourism potential, but investors need investment-ready projects. So for the PPP frameworks, you should really ensure that the feasibility studies, demand assessments, land ownership, clarity, environmental approvals, realistic financial models, and completed before projects go to market. There's lots of money out there. There's lots of people that want to invest, but you can't just go to them and say, "Hey, we've got a project, give us money." You need to be well prepared, and I think that's where in Africa currently we go wrong quite a bit. Another reason why PPPs are important and government involvement specifically is that we need the infrastructure first, and then the rest will follow. Tourism investment is very influenced by access, airports, roads, utilities, digital connectivity, water, waste management. All these things need to be in place. You can't just decide to put up a hotel and then you're not connected to the grid. You can't get there. So it's very difficult. And this is where we need government to be aware and involved. So that it's very, very important that governments prioritize enabling the infrastructure with the private sector focus on operation, innovation, and customer experience. And then, we're talking about policy stability and investment confidence. Investors are looking beyond the incentives. I mean, I raised the question before, what more can we do? But there's so much more. They want a predictable environment, regulations, transparency, efficient licensing, stable taxation, as long as the long-term policy consistency is there. For example, now this whole sovereignty bill that's been implemented in Uganda. In principle, there's nothing wrong for them to have implemented that. The only challenge is how that now is being perceived by the world. People are now scared to bring their money because what if it is being taken from them? What if this? What if that? So that needs absolute clarity. But I think you and I really know that MICE can really function as an economic catalyst, because a well-developed MICE sector delivers year-round demand and higher visitor spending. It's been mentioned before, right? And it's not seasonal, except maybe for periods like Christmas or Easter holidays and things like that. But other than that, it just continues the year through. So PPPs should really focus on integrated developments that combine the convention facilities, hotels, entertainment, retail, and transport. And then the objective is not to simply to build a convention center, but create an ecosystem that attracts international events and generates broader economic impact. Because one thing we also, and it has been mentioned, MICE industry, but hospitality and tourism specifically, impacts almost every single sector. So it's really very important we bring this all together. I hope that makes sense and helps the conversation.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that input, Barry. Obviously, there's a lot we have to do as a sector to present viable deals that can attract investment. I know that we have really, gone into great depth. We're just approaching the end of our conversation. Allow me to very warmly just thank every one of you ladies for your contribution here today. I think that the work that you're doing is significant in itself, every one of you, and even those on the call. But the fact that you took your time this afternoon to share your insights and unpack the opportunities in the exhibitions space is really noteworthy, and we want to thank you. We just have one very exciting announcement to make. shortly, and I'm just going to ask us to hold up for these 5 minutes to the end of the call. But just before that announcement, I want to bring in Mulemo, who will just do a quick summary of some of the conversations here today, and then we will be sharing with you something that's very, very exciting for us, and mapping what's next and how else can you engage with us. Mulemo, if you are ready, please. Thank you.
Hello, Africa. Oh my God, I think this is the first time since being part of the Hub, the Africa Mice Hub, that I've actually sat through a session as a participant. And it was quite a great learning experience because for the first time there was no pressure, meetings. And I think this is what we're trying to put out. Every part of the mice is a specialization. And today I am so excited to say Happy Global Exhibitions Day to everybody, not just people that are working in exhibitions, but to every one of us that is part of the wider community. Exhibition and a conversation to celebrate. Let us recognize that exhibitions are not merely cost centers, and we have to also just look at the conversation, the conversation, the element that came out around looking at Africa from within, looking at the numbers that we already have. Let us shift from the focus that we have had, which is the focus about bringing numbers to the continent, but leveraging the numbers that are on the continent. There is an opportunity to recognize the value of exhibitions in our different destinations. I think coming from a meetings background, this is a pain point already. So now to have the opportunity that is showcasing and putting a spotlight on mice on exhibitions. I'm very excited, Kezi, because I'm looking forward to the day when we'll have a specific conversation on incentive travel, a specific conversation on conventions, because every part of it is a key economic driver. And this conversation today, and I am feeling very scared, and thank you, Barry, for saving the day, for balancing out our gender representation in this call. I have been on this call for the last 2 hours and learning from these women and declaring that truly, truly women are the driving force behind mice across the continent. We've seen this a number of times, but we've been very subtle about taking the credit. So very well done to you, Kezi, and the panel. And I am very excited about the announcement you're about to make. So in closing, today we are at the tail end of a conversation that brought together a stand builder, a venue, as well as a practitioner. And I think sitting from a point of view where I'm not, like she had said, she sits in a space where, you know, she's carved a heaven in the exhibition arena. This day, sport exhibitions, the hope is that somebody finds inspiration, somebody finds an investment opportunity, somebody, you know, that knowledge and get change in the different markets. So we look forward to the day for meetings within the associations. Can we all start traveling to a point where, you know, the mobility of events become unique destinations that are ready, and whether it's energy, whether it's agriculture, it's mining, these events can shift and be, you know, be relevant in very different markets. So yes, thank you so much. And
thank you. Thank you very much, Mulemo. We experienced firsthand right now fragmentation of connectivity just right there with a struggling network connection. Allow us now, by way of a very short video, to make an announcement that we are looking forward to. I want to believe that our tech desk is ready for that, even as we come towards the tail end of our conversation together. And we will be saying, how do you participate in this?
In 2018, when Africa's mice industry was rich in potential yet fragmented in execution, a bold idea was born in Nairobi, Kenya. An idea to create a platform that will connect industry leaders, spark collaboration, inspire innovation, and elevate Africa's business event sector onto the global stage. That idea became the Africa Mice Summit, a platform where conversations became partnerships, where ideas became opportunities, and where Africa's business events industry found a voice. With it came the Africa Mice Awards, a recognition platform catered to celebrate excellence, honor leadership, and spotlight the destinations, organizations, and professionals shaping the future of Africa's mice industry. Year after year, the movement grew, from a local initiative to a continental platform, welcoming participants, partners, and industry leaders from across Africa and beyond. And when the world came to a standstill, we did not stop believing. In 2021, the Africa Mice Summit pioneered hybrid conferencing models in the wake of the pandemic, ensuring Africa's business events industry continued to connect, learn, and move forward. And in 2025, we came back bigger and better, relaunching the in-person conferencing. Today, we stand at the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter defined by greater inclusivity, greater recognition, and greater opportunity. One continent, 54 countries, more than 60 award categories, recognizing excellence across destinations, convention bureaus, venues, organizers, suppliers, innovators, policymakers, media professionals, and industry leaders. Because Africa's business event story deserves to be told, and those driving its growth deserve to be recognized. Ladies and gentlemen, the Africa Mice Awards 2026 is now officially open for nominations.
These awards are meant to inspire excellence in the industry. What we want to see in Africa's mice industry is thriving innovation, sustainability. It's not just a trophy, it's not just another accolade. It's meant to spark something. It's meant to inspire something.
Do you have what it takes? Nominate yourself. Nominate your organization, nominate a brand making an impact, and join us as we celebrate the people, organizations, and destinations powering Africa's business events economy. Submit your nominations today at awards.africamicesummit.org. Africa Mice Awards 2026, recognizing excellence, powering Africa's business events economy.
Nominations, like I said, will remain open until the 15th of July, and we will have a mega celebration of the Africa's mice industry, celebrating excellence and leadership at the coast of Kenya on the 1st and the 2nd of October. We thank you for your time. Thank you for hanging out with us this afternoon. Let's keep building. Let's keep the conversations going, and let's keep excelling. Thank you, everybody, and have a good night.
Have a good night. Thank you.